I think one of the things that made my relationship and my mom's relationship so special is that she supported me so much, and she was respectful, and she taught me how to be respectful, and she was kind, and she listened, and she understood or tried to understand the things that I was going through.
Welcome back to Happiness in Progress. I'm your host, Danielle Craig. I'm an Emmy Award winner, former journalist, mom, wife, and just a person looking for more joy in the everyday. This podcast is brought to you by the Mail Tribune. You can find more podcasts on mailtribune.com. I want to remind you, if you have not yet subscribed to Happiness in Progress, now is the time to do it. Click subscribe, and you might want to go to YouTube and click subscribe there, because in a few short weeks, come 2020, there will be all new episodes of Happiness in Progress with video to go with it. So we are now recording these in studio with cameras. You'll be able to watch it on YouTube as well as listen. You can still listen just how you've been listening, so don't get worried. You can listen on your favorite podcast app. All of the audio will be there just as it has been. Today's episode is with one of my favorite bloggers, Amanda Rodriguez. You may know her as Dude Mom, and that is because she is the humor blogger at dudemom.com. She is the mom of 3 sons, or dudes. She's married to her college sweetheart, and she has contributed to many websites and programs, including The Today Show. Amanda's first book is out today, and we are celebrating. You can grab it anywhere you buy your favorite books. It's called 50 Things to Do in Baby's First Year, the first-time mom's guide for your baby, yourself, and your sanity. The book is different than your typical baby book because it ties in humor and real simple tips from nursing and teething to managing anxiety and finding support. I wanted to talk to Amanda because she is someone who has found so much joy in raising her kids. In this episode, we talk about the good times and the harder times with the dudes. We also talk about how losing her mom recently has impacted her and how she stayed mom while dealing with grief, and the simple things she, and her mom for that matter, did to cultivate a beautiful relationship with their kids. We laughed, we cried. I had so much fun with this conversation, and I really think you're going to enjoy it. So let's get to it. Tell me and our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Tell you about myself is hard, because I naturally want to tell you about my kids.
Yeah.
Cooler than I am. But I am a mom to 3 boys. I have a husband, 2 dogs. I live in Maryland, but I'm from California, so I technically live in Maryland reluctantly. I am a blogger. My blog is Dude Mom. It's called dudemom.com. And I also do social media and digital marketing for pretty much anyone who will hire me. So
that's great. I've been following you for a long time. I earn the top fan badge all the time. I love what you post. I love the energy you put out there. One of the posts that caught my eye, and I thought I've got to have her on the podcast, was when I saw you posting about just thoroughly enjoying your kids, like just enjoying being in it. Tell me about that. Do you feel like you've always enjoyed parenthood?
I mean, no, but yes.
It's like the high voice where it's really hard sometimes.
Right. I think I'm somebody who has always wanted to be a very involved parent. Like I knew I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom before I had kids, and then when I actually had kids, I was like, whoa, stay-at-home mom and just mom? Oh, that's harder than I thought.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how my blog was born. But I think there was a time when it was like, you know, I had 3 kids under 6, a newborn, a 2-year-old, a kindergartner, and it was like that's exactly when my blog was born, because I just did not know who I was or what to do or how I was going to live. And it's not like, I don't want to say I wasn't enjoying that, because I feel like even the days that I'm sitting at the bottom of my stairs sobbing when my husband comes home and like throwing babies and diapers and dogs and everything at him, there were elements of it that I enjoyed. Like I've always loved being a mom, of course, but you know, there's the ups and downs of it. And now I'm on the other end of that with 2 teenagers and a preteen. So I'm trying to actually figure out which was harder, like toddler or teenager.
Oh no, don't even say it. So what would be your advice to other people who are there, who are like crying at the bottom of their stairs and just counting the minutes until their husband or wife get home? What would be the advice to them?
Cry as much as you want.
Yeah.
you've earned it.
Yeah. I love that
There's
idea of not kind of labeling that and saying, okay, I'm not enjoying motherhood because this day is hard.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's okay. It's like any other experience you have. Like every moment of it is not awesome. Even things that seem awesome. There's times when it's like, hey, this is hard, or I'm tired of doing this, or I don't feel good today, or whatever. It's the same with parenting. Like you cannot love every second of it and still love being a parent. So, embrace all of those elements of it. If it were all good, it probably wouldn't be worth doing. So,
So now that you're in this new phase where you're not your kid's favorite thing, tell me about that. How are you finding enjoyment in this new stage?
oh, it's hard and easy and at different times. Like, I don't know, I get a lot of the like, oh, you're lucky you have boys because I realize I'm not experiencing some of the drama that maybe people with girls have.
Uh-huh.
So I definitely appreciate that element of it. There's very little drama involved here. There is a lot of the, door closed and withdraw and all that stuff. And I miss like, nobody fits in my lap. I'm officially the shortest person in my house. But at the same time, I just got back from a girls' trip to Turks and Caicos, and it was literally the first time my son will be 18 in a week. So the first time in 18 years that I went,
Wow.
like, away with my friends, just like, and did friend things. So that part is nice. And honestly, like, there's so many things about them that, like, I'm enjoying watching them become real people.
Yeah.
And, like make choices. They're not always good choices, but they're making them.
Yeah.
So, like being a part of, I guess, the journey with them, I can't lie and say that I'm not sad a lot. Like, I'm like, oh, I can't stand like seeing him go away. And, my oldest son is like looking at colleges and all that stuff. Like it's sad,
Yeah.
I cry and stuff, but at the same time, like I want him to have all these big experiences, and I want him to see me enjoying him having them, and I don't want him to, feel guilty like I'm leaving my mom. Not that he does, but
maybe he could feel more guilt.
Right.
What are maybe some tools that you've used to be there and be that support rather than be the kind of holding back mom? I guess you could hold your kid back, or you can also, applaud them and say, you've got this. How have you done that?
There's this really big bag of candy that I keep under my bathroom sink.
I love that.
Go on the floor and eat it and cry.
I love that.
No, I think really, I'm sure I lost my mom earlier this year.
Yeah.
But she was a big influence on me in terms of what kind of a parent I am right now. And she was really amazing at doing that with me. There were times like when I went off to college, and my parents moved to another country when I went to college. So I wanted to drop out and I wanted to leave. And I just remember her encouraging me so much. And, in the past few years, doing the same thing with my boys, like, encouraging me to love this next chapter of their life with them. And then, there'll be another chapter where hopefully they'll give me grandkids and all of those sort of things. So she sort of helped me realize the things that, there's some things that I am losing that I might miss, but there's all these other experiences and moments and opportunities that I'm gaining with them that I'm looking forward to. So I try to focus on that, and then, spend time with my candy in the bathroom.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And I've watched this, this is a horrific thing that has happened to you, losing your mom. I imagine that's kind of impacted every aspect of your life.
Oh, 100%. Every moment.
What has been the hardest thing?
The hardest thing, I don't know. All the things are hard. I think, yeah, that's tough. I think honestly, like continuing to be a daughter to my dad and like a niece to my aunts, and, to be all of these people to all these other people without her here, because she was such a big part of like keeping our family together and everybody. She was a very special person to our family, to our community, to, random strangers. She was one of these people who would like stop her car and get out and like go up to a homeless person on the corner give them the things that she had in her car. So, she was somebody who did a lot of like made everyone feel special. So it's hard to sort of interact with all of those people because the sadness from everyone is so great.
Yeah.
But then also learning to, I guess one of the hardest things is like crying in front of my kids. And like learning how to show them that it's okay to experience grief and that grief is hard and it's ugly and sometimes it's beautiful and it goes through all these different things. Because as a mom, I think my natural inclination is I don't want them to see me sad and I don't want them to see me crying and I don't want them to see me hurting for an extended period of time because they're worried about me and all that. But like learning how to balance that and let them know that like mom is doing this and we're all going through this thing and it's okay to have whatever emotions you have during that time. That's been tough.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I was going to ask how this has changed your parenting.
At this point, it's changed my parenting in that, like, I always tell my husband, my mom was a big source of confidence for me because I could be like, hey, this happened with my kids and what do you think about it? And then, sometimes our ideas would align, sometimes they wouldn't, sometimes I'd ignore whatever, like any other mom daughter.
Right.
But she gave me a lot of confidence. So I find myself now like saying things or doing things and they're the same things that I would have done before. Like in the back of my mind, of course, I realize that. But while I'm doing it, just like doubting, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Does this feel right? Like, because my temperature, my thermometer of that is not here anymore. So that's been hard for me because she was so involved with my kids and, like all of that.
For someone going through something similar, what would you tell them?
I don't know. I want to figure out what to tell myself.
Yeah, there's not an instruction book, and I don't think it's supposed to look the same for everybody.
Right. No, I agree. And I think that's the big thing is just sort of you have to let your grief play out how it needs to play out. Like there's no way. I've spent a lot of time with my grief counselor, so she sort of helped me come to this point where it's like, I want it to hurry up. I want this to be over. I don't want to feel so sad all the time. I don't want to feel all of these emotions all the time because it's just not like, I'm not that type of a person. I don't have a lot of emotional expressions all the time. So it's an uncomfortable place for me to be right now. When I started the process, it was like, I just wanted this to hurry up and I want to get to the end and feel better. But I think just realizing that there's no rushing through it. There's no speeding it up. There's no skipping it. Like you have to go, there's only one way and it's through. You have to go through it. And what that looks like for you and feels like for you and how long that takes is going to be different than, even people in your family, other people who are experiencing the same grief that you are. It's going to be different for everybody. And you kind of just have to do it.
Yeah.
As uncomfortable and horrifyingly bad as it is.
Yeah. I wonder if there is an end to grief.
I don't know.
Have you talked about that with your grief counselor? What have you guys come to? Is there a place where you can be on the other side?
I certainly haven't arrived in that place yet, but I think what my expectation is and the way that we talk through it is that you just get to a place where this is where you are now. And, you just like any other type of growth. There's no end to growing until you're not here anymore. So you sort of get to different places in it, I guess. And I'm fortunate. My grief counselor has experienced a similar loss. She lost her mom a little over a year ago herself. So, I've learned a lot through her journey and sort of seeing that, you can move to a place where you're understanding yourself and this experience better and you feel differently about your loss. I don't think, anybody's ever going to get over it, quote unquote,
right.
But, sort of get through it to a place where every day doesn't feel so raw and so hard and so like aggressive. But that's how I would describe it. Like living through every day is like this aggressive experience where I have to like try really hard and not every day is like that. Like, some days I have a normal day. I feel like my mom's over at her house. I don't feel the weight of the sadness and I feel like my old self. But I know, like, tomorrow is probably going to be different. So
Yeah. I can't imagine dealing with that. And we were laughing and talking about your oldest getting ready to leave for college. Do you think that this has kind of compounded all of the feelings, everything?
Oh, totally. I feel like this is like the most emotional year of my life.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe 2020 is like, I don't know, I'm going to win the lottery or something, but it's a lot. My best friend was diagnosed with breast cancer this year. So, we've been going through that, and she was really close to my mom as well. So that whole experience and, not being able to be the friend that I want to be, not being able to be the wife that I want to be, not being able to be the mom that I want to be, the employee I want to be, like everything is sort of on hold. And at the same time, moving forward so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you offering yourself grace?
I think that's something I really struggled with because I've
Yeah.
always just struggled to do that, like through my parenting especially. But again, my grief counselor has come to the rescue in that, is like demanding that I find ways to offer myself grace. So one thing I went to Turks and Caicos with my friends,
Yes.
and that's not something that I probably would have ever done before. And, I just sort of like let things happen. There's not, I used to be very, I don't know, like I'm a super busy person. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But I also was way more in control of everything. So sort of letting some of that control go is just, and if things get forgotten or left behind or pushed to tomorrow or whatever, like I just have to forgive myself for that. And hopefully everybody else is able to do that as well.
I wonder, because I love following you. I love being part of your journey just as an individual out in the world. Do you realize the impact that you have on so many people you don't even know?
Yes and no, not really. I mean, like every now and then I'm like, my kids are usually the ones who are like, Mom, how come so many people comment on your, picture or whatever?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, sweetie, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it's hard. I don't know. I feel like I'm glad that there are people who connect in that way, because when I started this whole journey, that's what I started my blog for, because I was looking for that connection from people, like mom at home didn't have any friends that were around or anything. We lived in a different place. And like, I was looking for this opportunity to connect with so many people. And I feel like if I'm doing that for other people, that's great, because at the same time, so many people are doing that for me. And I appreciate the opportunity to have those relationships. Like when I first started blogging, we used to make this joke where it was like, blog friends are real friends. And like, I actually feel that way. I have so many like real friends.
Yeah. I love your boys and the support that they have for you, and how often they come and they say, hey, Mom, this is because people love you. Like they're shaking you awake to your greatness. Tell me about their support for you?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know if this is just because I've like trained them into like enjoying the blog and all that stuff. But, I hear so many other people, or like even our friends around, like I want to take a picture or something, and all the kids are like dodging out of the camera and like, no, you can't take a picture of me. And moms are like, my son never lets me take a picture. Like, my kids love taking pictures. And I don't know, I just like, I appreciate that they're always so, they're a part of this experience. And I think, that's the authentic side of who we are as a family. If I call them in here right now, they'll jump in a photo with me, not because they know I'm going to put it on Instagram, just because they love me, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like there are times when, my son's like, they're being really silly or something, and they're like, Mom, do not post this. And that's a more recent thing, since like middle school, I would say that probably
They're getting cooler.
Right. Oh, for sure.
How do you think you kind of created that relationship with them? I think so many parents want to have that real, authentic relationship with their child, but sometimes it goes missing in the, I'm your parent, I'm in charge. How do you think you created that?
So I'm going to tell you a funny story, and then maybe that'll help you note that maybe I didn't create it. So I remember when my oldest was a baby, and he was a really good baby, like a super good toddler, always well behaved, never had a temper tantrum in public. He was like the sweetest little boy, always clean. He would go to preschool. He would come home. His little hands would be clean, everything. He was like the perfect kid. And
Oh.
I swear, I would look at other parents in my one child, first time parenting bubble and be like, clearly I'm an awesome mom because look at this kid. So when he was about to turn 4, we had our second son, and I am not kidding. He is the complete opposite of his older brother. Everything was like a full-on intense fire, raging, everything. And I realized that it wasn't me. It was my older son. Like, his personality was like that. And I think that is just, for us, that's part of it. Obviously, I think there's some parenting things that I've done, most of them directed by my mom. Like the relationship I had with my mom, I've just been trying to recreate that with my boys. And, sharing things with them, spending time with them, talking to them like they're people and not like they're babies, and, little things like that I remember her always telling me. But at the same time, like, the way our personalities like sort of align, we've been, I guess we've been fortunate that way. They're not anything alike at all. They are 3 completely different humans that seem like they came from 2 different parents. But
Oh.
at the same time, like, my husband and I are able to like fill in the gaps. Like, he relates to my oldest son on certain things better than I do. And so I pick up the slack and, talk to him about other stuff. And, we're a good team in that way. And just, I don't know. I feel like I know them really well, and they know me really well as well.
You take the time to talk and listen.
Yes. They also would say, I don't listen or understand anything, but that's their teenagers.
They got that out of the What to Complain About as Teenagers book.
Exactly.
Tell me about when you were a teenager and the relationship you had with your mom.
I was the best teenager ever. I mean, honestly, I was. So I think, and I will say, obviously I made mistakes and did all that stuff. But yeah. I think one of the things that made my relationship and my mom's relationship so special is that she supported me so much, and she was respectful, and she taught me how to be respectful, and she was kind, and she listened, and she like understood or tried to understand the things that I was going through. So I always felt like I didn't need to sneak around or be dishonest with her. I didn't need to, go out and try all these things. And she gave me like enough leeway to get to know who I was going to be as a person, with also giving me like discipline and parameters and all that kind of stuff. And we were really close. Even when I was a teenager, like, I wouldn't say that she was my best friend when I was a teenager, because she was definitely in that parent role, but it changed so quickly. Like, when I went to college, she had to do a little, guidance and, forcing me to stay there when I wanted to leave and that kind of stuff. But she was always such a good listener and good at supporting me. And our relationship was just so strong that it was like, I never wanted to disappoint her, and I never wanted to lie to her. I never wanted to be dishonest or any of that kind of stuff, because I cherished the relationship that we had so much. And that's what I hope that I'm building with my boys, because I don't want to parent with fear, and I don't want to parent, with like, just do whatever. And that's that other, like, the exact opposite of that. But I want to have this respectful relationship that they cherish, so that, they hopefully will, behave, I guess.
What were some of the things that your mom would do, maybe even that you've thought about since growing up and getting pregnant and having your own kids, that you thought about and you said, I'm going to do this and this and this because that's what made the difference for me?
This is going to be a weird one, but my mom always listened to my music that I listened to.
That's not weird. I love that.
She would listen to the same music. She would watch the same movies, all that kind of stuff where, like, I talk to a lot of parents, in the different roles that I'm in our community. And, I'll talk about like, oh, this like hip hop artist or this movie we saw or whatever. And a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't know what that is. I never heard of that, whatever, that kind of stuff. And like, but your kids know, you want to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, I try to like, it helps that, I have probably the music and movie taste of a 17-year-old currently, but but at the same time, like I try to find things that we can relate to each other on.
Yeah.
And my mom was always really good at doing that. She was never the kind of person who's like, oh, what are you listening to? This is terrible. Or, trying to make me feel, she like understood, like, I'm going to like what I'm going to like. And she's going to do what she can to be a part of all of those experiences with me in a parental role.
I love that. I love this idea of building the relationship, putting it all on this relationship, this trusting relationship.
Yeah. And I always want to give them the opportunity to talk. So I try to spend a lot of time with them, around them, even if we're not talking. Maybe, we're just in the same room. My oldest son and I have this thing where we watch TV shows together. When the younger ones go to bed, he and I would stay up, and we do it a little bit less now because soccer, jobs, all that kind of stuff, but because he worked. But we would watch Vampire Diaries, and we would watch Riverdale, and like all these shows that I would probably not have watched so wholeheartedly, but he's interested in them. So it's a thing that we can do together. And even, we're not talking through the whole show, but it always gives us something that we can relate to each other.
Has that been hard to have the individual time with all three?
Oh, for sure. I think, especially when they were younger, it was way tougher to carve that out. As they've gotten older, it's gotten a lot easier because just, the way their schedules are and the way my schedule is, it's not a thing that we can do every day, but there's always time where it's like, just my youngest is home, or, we call it cuddle time. So, we try to spend time together in the evening, sitting on the couch and, watching a show or hanging out or talking, reading, whatever we're doing. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it looks like, we're doing homework together. But it's the time where it's like just the two of us, and you two are doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Because they're, at that age now, we're like, this definitely wasn't a thing when I had, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old and whatever. That wasn't.
Think about that now. Like all 24 hours of the day, someone is touching me.
Right.
That's where we are right now. I love the role that your mom has had when you were young, and how much her impact on you, mm-hmm. it has touched your kids, and how that makes the impact for your kids. Do you think mm-hmm. your kids feel that they know that kind of that their grandma started this and is touching their lives?
I hope so. And I believe that they do. Mimi is such a powerful part of our family, even now. Mm-hmm. We talk about her every day. We think about her every day. There's things that we do and say that are directly from Mimi. And I know that they know that she was my person. So, and how much she influenced like everything that we, like all of our experiences. There's so many things that we're like, if Mimi would be here for this. There's like certain things where it's like, oh, we'd be sitting there. My son had surgery on his arm. He broke his wrist earlier in the school year. And I remember when we were waiting at the doctor's office for to get the x-ray before he had to have the surgery and all that, just to find out when he broke it. And he said, oh, Mimi would be running in that door right now. Oh. And that happens so much that we just can see the spaces that she filled, and she's not filling them anymore. Mm-hmm. So, that it's hard, but it's also kind of beautiful to see how much of an impact she had on them.
Mm-hmm. Holding on to that, does that allow you guys to continue to feel her, or feel the role she would be playing?
I think so. It's honestly hard to say right now, because so many of for me, so many of the emotions that I have about her are covered in sadness. So yeah. I don't think I've reached a point yet where it's when I think about her, it's all happy memories. Yeah. That's sort of where I hope I'm working towards. Yeah. But I have had the opportunity to listen to my younger son talk about her a bit, and it feels like he has he's grasping that a little more quickly than I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine the journey that you are in the middle of, and I so appreciate you talking about it while you're in the middle of it. What is something you've learned about yourself this year?
Oh my, like so many things. I think I have learned that I am stronger than I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the times when I feel like I am not strong at all, I am. And I never, like the things that I have done without her there's a lot of things I've done without her that I didn't think that I never imagined that I would be able to do without her. I've learned that I have a hard time with emotions.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel like before I had like two emotions, happy and sad, but there's so many emotions in grief, like so many different feelings and things and thoughts, and just there's a lot. So I think I've done a lot of work of getting to know what those are and how they make me feel and how I express them back to other people. And I've learned that I like hugs more than I used to.
Yeah. Yeah. What is one thing that maybe she told you that you hold close to your heart through your parenting and when you can't call her?
One thing she told me, that's hard. She told me, I feel like she said so many things without saying anything, just was as a person. She like always putting kindness first. Like she never said those words, but she was always she was just always kind to people. Like that was her initial reaction. That was her initial everything. Just, I'm going to be kind. And then, she might get crazy from there. It depends how you act, but just the passion for caring for my kids. She was like the ultimate mama bear. It would be like, everybody loves Mimi. Everybody loves Mimi. Somebody does something to her baby and you better watch out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. I used to be a very, I don't know, shy. I don't know if the word is shy, but more like, I never liked confrontation at all. I would actually call her and ask her to call people for me. Like, hey, I need to cancel this doctor's appointment. Can you call and tell them I can't come?
Oh.
Because I didn't want to I don't know, I'm trying to get out of it. I don't want to come with an excuse. But now, I feel like I'm a lot better at all of those things. I mean, obviously I have to do it for myself now. I don't really have a choice, but she gave me that, and she would always say, you can do this. I don't know why you're acting like you can't do this. I'm like, well, I can do it, but I don't have to because you can.
Yeah, yeah.
But now I know she was right all along. I can do all of those things that I just didn't need to or want to do before.
I feel like in the way you talk about her and the way you live such a beautiful story and the way you cultivate these relationships with your kids, I just feel so strongly that you honor her. Do you feel like you're honoring her in your daily life?
I certainly hope so. I think from the moment I knew that she was gone, that's been the driving force behind my ability to survive this experience. Honestly, every moment from the very beginning, I remember saying she would be so upset she would be so upset with me if I, continue to do this, if I wasn't here for my kids, if I didn't make this choice. So I'm trying to be I don't feel like I can ever be her. And honestly, we were very different people in a lot of ways, but there are so many things that I want to make sure that my kids always have from her. And so many things that I want to be because she knew I could be those things, that I hope that, I hope I'm doing a good job of honoring her and, sort of living up to the expectations, or not the expectations really, but she always had way bigger dreams for me and the boys than I ever thought of having for myself. So
she saw your capability.
Yeah. She definitely, I mean, when she was alive, it was always like, well, you have to say that because you're my mom.
Yeah.
But She believed it.
Yeah, well, she knew you could do it, and you're learning that you can do it too. I think that's amazing. She saw you. For someone listening who is like, I just wish I had that relationship with my kids. I just don't even know where to start. I'm too late to the game. Whatever it is, the excuse is, what would you say to them in terms of creating that relationship?
It's never too late to create that relationship.
Yeah.
You know, your kids want that from you, even if they're being surly and annoying and feisty and sassy and like all those other things that kids can be. Even those behaviors are usually their attempt to have some sort of attention or relationship or something with their parents. Like they want it. So finding a way like that you can connect with them, and it doesn't have to be like it's not going to start out as like, you know, you're going to go and everything's going to be Disneyland and all of a sudden you're going to be holding hands and skipping through the park. It takes time, and also like changing the expectations on how that relationship is going to go, where it's going to go, what it's going to be like. You know, our relationship with all of my boys has grown and changed, and sometimes it's harder than other times, and sometimes I'm really like sitting in my bedroom thinking, who is that person?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know that the most important thing to me is that when we make it through these toddler years that were hard and these teenage years that were harder, and they go off to college or work or whatever they're going to do with their lives, I want them to call me.
Yeah.
I want them want to tell me about their life. I want them to want me to be a part of their life. And like, that's my end goal. So whatever I need to do now to make sure that, you know, when they're 35, they're still calling me up, like maybe once a week, maybe once a month. I don't know. Calling me up and saying, hey, Mom, and telling me about whatever random things are going on in their life. Like, I want to get to that point. So, you know, little things that it's never going to be perfect, and it's not always easy, and it's going to be hard and challenging, but that relationship can grow through all of those things.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that end goal of having that adult child call you. I love that.
From what I hear, and I have a brother, so they don't call as much.
Yeah, I know. I'm worried about that. I mean, mine are still really little, but I have two boys and then I have a girl. But I've always, because I've been a boy mom for so long before I had my baby, I've always been like, how am I going to get them to care about the scrapbooks and call me? But well, I love that. I love your advice. I love how you've created the relationship. It's so important. The last question I like to ask is, my podcast is all about finding more joy in the everyday. And I want to ask you, what would be the number one tip to doing that in the good, the bad, and the in-between, still finding joy?
The candy under your bathroom sink is a real good tip, everyone. Start there.
I just love that. I love it because, you know, it's true.
Right. But I'll also say, I think maybe, you know, not taking yourself so seriously. Like, you know, you've probably seen we dance in the kitchen and we're silly and, you know, we're doing all kinds of crazy things that probably a lot of times they look at me and they're like, Mom, you're so weird. But they're smiling. I see it like hiding in there. And just like, you know, finding those little moments to just forget all the things that are hard about life and all the deadlines and all the things that you have to do, and do something that feels good with your.
Yeah, and you're teaching them how to do that as well. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking about this and talking about your mom. I know that's not easy, and I just really appreciate it. I think a lot of people will take a lot from this.
No, thanks for having me.
I have been following Amanda for years, and it was just so fun to talk to her. Just as much fun to talk to her as see her post all of these years. You can follow her too. I will put her social and blog links in the show notes. Plus, you'll find a link to her brand new book, 50 Things to Do in Baby's First Year. It's a great gift for someone who is about to have a baby or just had a baby, to get them ready and prepared for that difficult first year. Coming up next, I will be talking about loneliness during the holidays. If you have not yet subscribed, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that episode. And I want to thank you so much for being here on Happiness in Progress.